There is one survival tool that exists in every office building, every hospital, every school, every restaurant, every gas station, every hotel, and every apartment hallway in America. Tens of millions in service, millions more sitting in garages, storage units, and junk piles. They are literally everywhere. You walk past them every single day, and 99% of people think they do exactly one thing. They are wrong. That red cylinder on the wall is not a fire tool. It is a pressure vessel. And a pressure vessel is the most versatile survival platform ever mass-produced. I know this because I used to build them. When I was young, I got a job at a fire extinguisher factory. I saw every step of the process, from flat sheets of steel to finished cylinders, pressurized and painted and shipped out the door. Different types, different sizes, different chemicals inside. And what I learned on that production line changed the way I look at every red cylinder I have seen since. Because once you understand what a fire extinguisher actually is, not what it is labeled for, but what it physically is, you realize you are looking at one of the most useful objects in the built environment. I would compare it to a knife. Simple. Effective. 100 applications. The only difference is that a knife fits in your pocket and a fire extinguisher is bolted to the wall in every public building on the continent. I am Max, and today, on Outfox Apocalypse, I am going to show you 9 ways a fire extinguisher can save your life that go far beyond putting out a fire. Yes, fire suppression is its job. If you have seen my camper video, you know that a recreational vehicle burns to the ground in 3 minutes, and a 2.5-pound ABC extinguisher within arm's reach is the difference between getting out and not getting out. That is its obvious purpose. But today, we go beyond that. Way beyond. Before we start, a quick note on types. What you are looking for is the big red one labeled ABC. That means it handles ordinary combustibles, flammable liquids, and electrical fires. The chemical inside is monoammonium phosphate, a fine powder that smothers fire by cutting off oxygen and interrupting the combustion chain reaction. ABC extinguishers are the most common type in America. That is what you will find in most buildings, and that is the type that does everything I am about to describe. CO2 extinguishers work for some of these uses, but not all. Foam and clean agent types are specialized and will not do most of what follows. Stick with ABC. Some of these uses work with a full charged extinguisher. Most require an empty one that you modify. I will tell you which is which as we go. And a word about tools. Several of these modifications need an angle grinder, or at minimum a hacksaw. If you have power now, do the work now. In a crisis, a hacksaw does the same job. It just takes longer and costs more sweat. Prepare while you can. One of these 9 could save your life in a situation where nothing else will. I am saving that one for last. Here are the 9 uses. Number 1. The emergency air source. Your tire is flat. The grid is down. Gas stations are closed. No air compressor. No roadside assistance. No AAA. Your car is not going anywhere on a flat tire, and without your car, you are on foot. Here is the thing. A fire extinguisher is a pressure-rated steel tank holding up to 175 psi. That is higher than any car tire needs. And there are 2 ways to use this. First, the quick and dirty emergency method. You have a flat tire right now and a fire extinguisher in the trunk. YouTubers have tested this and it works. With a simple homemade adapter, you can inflate a car tire directly from a charged fire extinguisher. A CO2 type is cleaner for this, but a standard powder ABC will do the job too. You are not winning any beauty contests with powder residue in your tire valve, but you are driving, and driving beats walking. Second, the prepared version. Take an empty extinguisher, drain and clean it. Fit a standard valve stem from any auto parts store, $2. Now you have a refillable air tank. Charge it with a compressor or a gas station air hose while the grid is still up. A 10-liter tank holds enough pressure for several tire top-ups. Keep it in your trunk or your garage. When you need air and there is no power, connect it to the tire, and the pressure equalizes almost instantly. You will not get a perfect 35 psi from one charge. The pressure splits between the tank and the tire, but you will get enough to move. And unlike a one-use inflator can from Walmart, this tank is refillable. Fill it again and again for years. Small thing to build, but if you have hands and an hour, why not? Number 2. The rocket stove. Cut the top off a large fire extinguisher with an angle grinder or a hacksaw. Cut a feed hole in the side near the bottom. You now have a rocket stove, an insulated combustion chamber that burns small sticks and twigs at extremely high temperatures with almost no smoke. Rocket stoves are one of the most efficient off-grid cooking and heating methods ever designed, and the steel wall of a fire extinguisher is the perfect thickness and shape for one. This works because the cylinder is already engineered to contain extreme heat. The steel is thick enough to last years of use, and the cylindrical shape naturally directs airflow upward through the fuel, creating the draft effect that makes rocket stoves so efficient. You can boil water in minutes on a handful of twigs. No propane, no electricity, no grid. One important note from my time on the production line: cheap fire extinguishers sometimes use lower grade steel, and most have interior coatings that are not food safe. If you are going to cook with one, burn it empty first. Run it hot enough to burn off any internal coatings before you put food anywhere near it. Safety first. And by the way, how many fire extinguishers have you walked past this week without thinking twice? Count them tomorrow, at work, at the store, in your building's hallway. You will be surprised how many there are. And after this video, you will never look at them the same way. Number 3. The survival sprayer. Same conversion as the air tank. Drain the powder, clean the tank, install a valve stem. Now fill it with water or liquid mix and pressurize with a bike pump. You have a pressurized sprayer with a 15 to 20 foot range. It is heavy, heavier than the plastic one from the hardware store. But the plastic one is not here right now. Here is a scenario. Your survival garden is your food supply, and aphids are eating it alive. A pressurized sprayer loaded with soapy water at 15 feet saves your crop in 20 minutes. Or extreme heat, no AC, no power. A fine mist of water on your skin drops your body temperature fast. Or chemical spill on your gear. Decontamination at range. Same nozzle that sprayed powder sprays water just as well. And unlike plastic, this steel tank is refillable and repressurizable indefinitely. Number 4. The bladed tools. This one comes from people who work with metal, and it is simpler than you think. The steel in a fire extinguisher cylinder is mild steel, not hardened tool steel, but workable, cuttable, and sharpenable. Cut the cylinder open with an angle grinder or a hacksaw. Yes, a hacksaw works. It just takes patience. Flatten the panels with a hammer on any hard surface. Now you have steel sheets that can be cut and ground into knives, machetes, scrapers, digging tools, or arrowheads. A large extinguisher gives you enough steel for multiple tools. And here is the part that matters. This steel sharpens with what you have. A concrete sidewalk, a flat rock, a piece of sandpaper, literally on your knee. You do not need a bench grinder or a whetstone. Will it hold an edge like a $60 Mora? No. But in a scenario where you have nothing, where the store is closed, the supply chain is broken, and you need a cutting tool today, a flattened fire extinguisher panel sharpened on a curb is a blade. And a blade changes everything. At this point, you might be wondering if there is anything this cylinder cannot do. Fair question. It makes a terrible pillow. Everything else is on the table, and we are still 5 uses away from the one that changes everything. Number 5. The oil lamp. This one requires almost no modification and works the same night you need it. Unscrew the valve assembly from the top of an empty extinguisher. You now have a steel cylinder with an open top. Pour in cooking oil, olive oil, vegetable oil, rendered animal fat, used motor oil if you are desperate. Insert a wick made from any cotton fabric, a strip of old t-shirt, a shoelace, a piece of rope. Let the wick soak for 30 minutes, light it, and you have a wind-resistant oil lamp that burns for hours. The physics are simple. 2 ounces of oil burns for roughly 3 to 4 hours. A full extinguisher body holds enough oil for days of light. The cylindrical steel walls block wind from every direction, so it works outdoors in conditions where a candle would blow out in seconds. And unlike a candle, you are not burning through wax, you are burning through cooking oil, which you probably already have. One trick from the old-timers: soak your wick in salt water before using it and let it dry. The salt reduces smoke significantly. Cleaner burn, less attention, less irritation to your lungs if you are using it indoors. Number 6. The counterweight. Fill an empty fire extinguisher with concrete, sand, rocks, or scrap metal. Let it set. You now have a compact, heavy, handled weight that serves a dozen purposes. A boat anchor for a small craft or raft. A counterweight for a pulley system to lift supplies. A doorstop that nobody moves. A dead weight for trapping or towing. A workout weight if you are trying to stay fit without a gym. The handle built into every extinguisher makes it easy to grip, tie, rope to, and carry, something a random rock does not offer. This is the simplest conversion on the list. No tools required, just fill and use. And in a homestead or base camp scenario, having a reliable 10 to 15 pound handled weight is more useful than most people realize. Number 7. The still. And yes, I am going there. 84 people liked this idea when someone suggested it online, so clearly it resonates. An empty fire extinguisher is a sealed steel vessel that can handle heat and pressure. Attach a copper tube to the valve outlet, coil the tube through a bucket of cold water, and you have a basic pot still. Heat the extinguisher body with a fire, and the liquid inside turns to steam, travels through the copper coil, condenses back to liquid, and drips out clean on the other end. What does that give you? Clean water from dirty sources. Distillation removes bacteria, chemicals, and salt. Alcohol, which in a survival context is not for drinking. It is for disinfecting wounds, sterilizing tools, making tinctures from medicinal plants, fire-starting fuel, and barter currency. A pint of clean alcohol in a collapse scenario is worth more than most things in your bag. 2 critical warnings. First, the legal one. Distilling alcohol is regulated or illegal in many states without a permit. Know your laws. Second, the safety one. The first liquid that comes out of any still contains methanol. Methanol is a poison that destroys your optic nerve before it kills you. Always discard the first portion of any distillation run. This is not optional. This is the difference between useful alcohol and a death sentence. Number 8. The forge. For the builders, the blacksmiths, the people who make things with their hands, a large fire extinguisher body, lined with refractory cement or clay, with a hole drilled for an air input, becomes a functional forge. A forge hot enough to heat steel for bending, shaping, and basic bladesmithing. People have built functional blacksmith setups from fire extinguisher bodies with nothing more than an angle grinder and a hairdryer for the bellows. Or, if you have no power, a length of pipe and your own lungs. In a long-term grid-down scenario where you need to repair tools, shape metal, or build from raw materials, this is how you get started. And now, Number 9. The one I have been holding back since the first sentence of this video. The one that has nothing to do with building, cooking, or storing. The one that could save your life in a situation where you have no weapon, no training, and no time. The last resort defense tool. A standard ABC fire extinguisher, full, charged, still on the wall, has a spray range of 15 to 20 feet. That is further than pepper spray, further than mace, further than any personal defense spray on the civilian market. And the chemical it releases, monoammonium phosphate, does not just irritate. It blinds, chokes, and completely disorients anyone caught in the cloud. A concentrated burst to the face fills the eyes, nose, mouth, and throat with fine chemical powder that triggers violent coughing, tearing, and total loss of visibility. An attacker cannot fight through it. They can barely breathe through it. A medic who trains people for active shooter situations confirmed in a public discussion that this is exactly what he teaches. Spray the hallway between you and the threat, and the chemical cloud becomes a wall that the attacker cannot cross. In a hospital where you cannot carry a weapon, in an office building during a lockdown, in a school, a church, a theater, every one of those places has fire extinguishers on the walls. And if the unthinkable happens and you are unarmed and cornered, that red cylinder is your best option. But I need to say this clearly, because this is not a game. Monoammonium phosphate is not pepper spray. It is not a mild irritant that wears off in 20 minutes. Inhalation in a confined space can cause acute respiratory distress, lung damage, chemical pneumonia, seizures, and cardiac complications. Medical journals have documented inhalation burns from fire extinguisher discharge. Effects can be delayed by hours or days. A person sprayed at close range in an enclosed area may need emergency medical attention, or they could die. You use this as a defense tool only when the alternative is dying, when there is an active threat to your life and you have no other option. It is a last resort, not a first choice. And if you do use it, the person you spray needs medical attention afterward, whether they were the attacker or not. This is a lethal capable tool. Treat it as one. After the spray, the extinguisher still weighs about 5 pounds of solid steel. As a blunt instrument, delivered with both hands like a battering ram to the chest or midsection, it is a fight-ending impact tool. Spray first to disorient, close in second to neutralize, and then get out. Let me give you the full picture. 9 uses, 1 tool. 1. Emergency air tank, drain, add a valve stem, charge with air, keep your car moving when the grid is down. 2. Rocket stove, cut the top, add a feed hole, cook on twigs with no grid. 3. Survival sprayer, same valve stem conversion, fill with water, 15-foot range for crops, cooling, or decontamination. 4. Bladed tools, cut the cylinder, flatten, sharpen on a rock, make knives and machetes from the steel. 5. Oil lamp, unscrew the valve, pour in oil, add a wick, hours of wind-resistant light. 6. Counterweight, fill with concrete or rocks, instant anchor, doorstop, pulley weight. 7. Still, add a copper coil, distill clean water or alcohol for medicine and barter. 8. Forge, line with clay, add air input, heat steel, build and repair tools. 9. Last resort defense, 15 to 20 feet of chemical cloud that stops an attacker cold. Use only when the alternative is worse. And the list does not end there. People have used these cylinders as boat anchors, portable showers, water distillers, camp stoves, and even hidden safes. Because nobody checking your garage during a robbery is going to look inside a fire extinguisher. The imagination is the only limit. One tool, designed for one thing, capable of 9 more. And they are everywhere, in every hallway, every garage, every kitchen, every school. The most underrated survival tool in the world has been hanging on the wall in front of you your entire life. Next time you walk past one, and you will, probably today, look at it differently. It is not just a fire tool, it is a pressure vessel, and pressure, contained and directed, does whatever you need it to do. That is what 300 years of engineering gave us. A $10 red cylinder that weighs 5 pounds and does the work of a dozen tools. If this changed how you see the humble fire extinguisher, subscribe. The pack shares knowledge. That is how we survive. Tell me in the comments which use surprised you most, and which one are you going to try first? Everything in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Using a fire extinguisher as a defensive weapon should only be considered as an absolute last resort in a life-threatening situation. Monoammonium phosphate can cause serious respiratory damage, chemical burns to eyes, and systemic toxicity. Modifying fire extinguishers carries risks of injury from pressurized vessels. Always depressurize completely before any modification. Distilling alcohol may be illegal in your jurisdiction without a permit. Methanol from improperly distilled spirits is lethal. Always discard the first portion of any distillation run. Consult local fire safety codes before removing extinguishers from public buildings. Laws regarding improvised weapons, self-defense, and distillation vary by state and country. Stay safe. Max out.